Hello, welcome. We'll wait for a few more people to join. If you have watched before, it is a one-woman show today, but thank you for joining in. If you haven't watched, my name is Nicole, and I am one of the brain consultants here. Hello, welcome. We're gonna wait for a couple more people to join. It is a one-woman show today. If you have watched before, normally I have Jeremy with me, but today it will just be me. So thank you for joining Instagram Live. Hello, welcome. This is, I believe, I want to say it's the third one that we've done. Hello, welcome in everyone. If you've watched before, normally I have Jeremy here. Today it will just be me. So since I have a few of you guys in here, we can go ahead and jump right in. So this is, I want to say, the third Instagram Live that we've done. We're going to be doing this weekly on Mondays at 3 p.m. Pacific time. So always feel free to shoot your questions through to us, and that's kind of what we do. And of course, if you have more questions that come up throughout this entire Instagram Live, just send them through in the comments and I will answer them. So, like I said, my name is Nicole. I am one of the brain consultants here at IndieSource, and essentially what I do is I'm kind of like your first point of contact here. So whenever you guys are inquiring through the website or like Facebook, I'm typically the person that you talk to. I kind of set up time to speak with you, understand where you're at in the process. Hello, thank you for joining in. I kind of understand where you are in the process, and then from there I help set you up for success depending on where you fall with our services. So let's go ahead and jump right into questions. And of course, like, if you do have any questions or want to get in contact with me, you can email me, Nicole at IndieSource, or you can email info@IndieSource, and anyone would get back to you. So the first question that we got asked today, hello, welcome in to all of the new people joining, is does IndieSource offer production on products other than apparel like shoes or accessories? So we pretty much just do apparel. We can do like bags if they are made out of like a soft textile or material, so like a canvas tote bag, something that we'd be able to do. But we don't do any shoes, we don't do like jewelry. It would be out of like a soft textile. So a lot of times when I'm talking to people about the process of development, and I give you like our development range, so typically development per style ranges from about $1,500 to $2,500 per style. People think that that is just for a sample. So I got asked, why am I paying so much for a sample? Well, you're paying for everything you need to go into production. So throughout development, we do all of your product development. Your patterns, we quote you out for 2 rounds of like pattern making and edits, 2 rounds of samples. We would quote you out for all of the sourcing. So to answer your question, yes, we help you source material, trim, anything that you would need for your products. And then throughout development, you're paired with a project manager, and your project manager kind of oversees your project. They're in all of your fittings with you. They do weekly check-ins. They kind of facilitate lab dips if we're going to be doing dyeing. They help you with strike-offs if we're doing printing. They're doing all of your sourcing. For lack of a better term, they're kind of like your hand holder. Yes, we can do swimwear. We do swimwear for frame denim and Sol Angeles. Those are our 2 kind of biggest known clients for swim. But so you're not necessarily paying a lot for a sample, you are paying for moving into production. It's kind of like Zach always gives this analogy. It's like Honda spends hundreds of thousands of dollars developing their car and they sell it for much cheaper, right? For development, it ranges from $1,500 to $2,500 per style. And in order to get an actual quote, we would go through a development kickoff meeting with you. And that's where we would have you bring in or send reference samples. So garments that you might have in your closet, garments that you might have a prototype already made for. Doesn't need to be exact, but it would need to be close, like fit-wise, to what you'd be creating. And then that's where we'd sit down with you, really go over those reference samples to understand exactly what you're trying to create, and then we provide you an accurate quote for the development of your products. So a question that we get asked every week is, what is your MOQ? For production, it is 300 units per style, and then we can break that up into about 3 colors. I get asked a lot if we can break it up into more than 3 colors. When we do more than 3 colors, we run into fabric minimums. So most of the vendors here in LA have a 1 roll minimum for production, which is about 100 yards typically. So if we do more than 3 colors, you face like a large surcharge for cutting if you buy less than the fabric laces minimum, which is kind of like when you do less than 300 units per style for production, you're going to be facing a higher price per unit cost because it's below our minimum. And then we do have a minimum for development as well. So when doing development, we would need to develop 3 styles, 3 different styles. So it could be a t-shirt, a hoodie, and a pair of pants. It could be one style of underwear, 1 bralette, and a t-shirt. 3 different styles. What size should I use for my reference samples? It's a great question. Also, welcome in to everybody who just joined. So for reference samples, it's good to take like a middle ground. So let's say your size run is going to be extra small through extra large. A reference sample should typically be a size medium, because that's what we're going to pull measurements from when we're creating your pattern. And then once we get the fit down for the medium, that's where we would grade it to all of the different sizes. So we'd grade it to a small, an extra small, and then we'd grade it up to a large and an extra large. It's important to communicate with us what size you want the reference sample. So maybe you want your pieces to like be oversized, and you give us a size large, but you want it to fit like a medium, like you want that labeled like a medium. You would just need to let us know that up front in order for us to like be successful when we're doing your sample making and whatnot. Do you work with untraditional fabrics like chainmail? We can work with untraditional fabric, not chainmail, but like vinyl or PVC we can work with. It is a little bit harder to sew, so it would be a little bit more expensive. We got asked, where do you source your materials from? So we source everything mainly in LA. Some of the vendors that we use are all US made. Everything like is done in the US. Some of it is all made in LA. We work with other vendors who import from like China or South Korea. But when we're doing the sourcing, we really try and understand what is going to be important to your brand. Some people, it's really, really important for everything to be made in the US, like their brand is based on that. Other people are looking for more cost-effective options, which would be using a vendor who imports from overseas. We can also do sourcing from the countries directly. It's just a bit more time consuming because of time difference, language barrier, and whatnot, but we can do that as well. What's the charge if you have a production pattern and all you need is a marker and grading? Product development isn't needed. I believe, for the question, Lindsay K, I believe it's $300 per style, but I would need to just confirm that, but I believe that's our rate if you have your patterns digital. If you don't have them digital, we would need to do digitizing for them as well. What should I have prepared before starting development? Good question. So, some things that I think are important for you to know about your business before moving into development is you need to know, one, who your target market is. You need to really have a good understanding of how to market to them once you have a product that's been made. You need to have an understanding of kind of who your competitors are, and your competitor is probably not Nike or Lululemon or big brands, just because they have brand recognition. They're out there, everyone knows them. I could say Nike and I guarantee all of you know who Nike is. You would need to kind of do some research to understand more smaller companies who your competitor would be, and then what makes your product different. Why are people gonna buy your product rather than somebody else's? So if you're making a pair of leggings, what about your legging is different, right? Because that's gonna be kind of a marketing point, that's gonna be a selling point. I would also say you need to have an idea of what you want to retail your pieces at, not where, price-wise, what you want to retail them for, just so that way when we're going through development, we can source you material that falls in line with your budget. We can also work with you on making sure that we hit your margins, right? So if you want to sell something for $60, you probably don't want to pay $50 to make it. Right? So we would source material that would give you a margin. If you have a construction detail that's adding in a lot of cost, we would work on kind of reworking that so you would keep your costs down. We got a question in here. What's the cost if you already have a sample? So the question I would ask you for the question that just came through development is, do you have your patterns made? Because if you have your patterns made and your marker, then we'd be able to give you a quote for production. But if you're missing some of those really important things like the pattern, we would need to take a step back and look at what it would cost to develop the garment first before we could move into production, because we would need to have a pattern that we could cut for production when we need to mass produce. Does your manufacturing process use ethical labor? Yes. All of our sewers make more than minimum wage. It's definitely something that we pride ourselves in and kind of really stand behind, is to make sure that everything done here is done ethically. This industry is notorious for using kids in sweatshops. One of our brand consultants here, Emily, always jokes that a kid doesn't touch the garment until they're wearing it, so I always think that's funny. I have my patterns digital with all the sizes. Danielle, your question cut off. If you could retype it, I'd be happy to answer it. Thank you for always joining. For accessories, we can do handbags that are made out of a soft cloth. So we don't work with leather. If it's a canvas bag, yes, we can do that. Our minimum order for production is 300 units per style. You can break that into 3 colors. We don't digitally print fabric in-house, but we work with vendors in LA who have been around for a super long time. We just don't have the demand to justify the setup. It costs thousands and thousands of dollars for it, but we'll be completely transparent with you where we're getting it printed, and then we don't add any cost onto it. We would just kind of oversee the process. I have my samples made, but they need more work to finalize. So thank you for typing that question. If you have samples that you need edited, you would still you'd still fall within the development range. Since you have a sample already, we would kind of like base it off of that sample, but then if you have patterns, we would need to make them digital, and then from there, that's when we would make any of the like call outs and construction changes that you would need based off of that. Then we would still do 2 rounds of samples for you just to really make sure that the fit is what you are expecting it to be. Hair ties, if it's like a bow, we can. They're kind of expensive if you're doing it at the 300 unit mark, but we can do like hair bows. Headbands. As long as it's a like soft cloth and it doesn't have like a plastic band in it, yes, we can do them. What is your quality control process? So we do 4 QC checks throughout the entire production. And then we do the final one here, which the girls are doing right now, and we make sure that all of the sizing is correct. We make sure that you don't have any like loose threads when we send them to you.